Okay, I had a bit of a request in regards to stealth kayak rudders. Okay, so basically, the rudder itself is comprised of endless thread, stainless steel. It's squared off at the top, just so you can put the yoke on. It's fairly standard. Okay, and this one's basically just resined up, and it's 5 inches long, and it does everything you want it to do. It's about the same size as your hand. This one does everything you need to do, so that does a pretty bloody good job. Then you've got the upgrade, so don't worry about the glitter. My kids had a bit of fun. I upgraded this one on top of the upgrade, so the upgrade itself was about that wide by about that wide by about that long. This one's about 8 inches or 9 inches on a diagonal, but about 8 inches from the kayak. It gives you about probably another 20 odd percent more grip in the water, maybe even 30%. When we're out in the big water, so we're talking Portland, Victoria, we're talking Port Macdonald, South Australia, we're talking Victor Harbour, South Australia, the really big water, with the Southern Ocean swell. So we're talking the big rollers coming in throughout the day. We're talking, possibly some wind waves. We're talking tidal currents. Waves are standing up a little bit more. With those sort of seas, you tend to get a rather big swell coming in. The average swell down there would be, the average low swell would be around the 2.5 metre a day mark. On a big day, it'll go 5 metres plus. I've been in 4.5, 5 metre days. They're really big days. They're really, really big swell. And you really do notice a rudder like this when you're coming back in or going with the swell or oblique to the swell. What tends to happen is you're cruising along and you've got a bit of a tail swell coming up from behind you, and it kind of wiggles the back of the boat left and right a little bit. And so the front of your kayak, you can just see the front of the kayak just tilt left, tilt right, tilt left. So when a big swell roller comes through, the front of your kayak will actually swing left, and then she'll swing back down, swing left, and then she'll swing back down, and basically you got that motion, that arse end kind of tilting around like this, pretty much for how many k's you're out, all the way back in. So sometimes we're 6 k's out, sometimes we're 4 k's out, sometimes we're 14 k's out. Portland, quite regularly, our fishing starts around the 6-7 k mark. There's no heroics involved. You'll just be out a long way, So Victor Harbour's no different. You'll go at least 2-3 k's off the points, and then you'll go further just to see what's out there. They're big water days, and so you really do need a larger paddle. With this paddle in question, what happens is when you're paddling along and the kayak's tracking really nicely, with this rudder, you'll actually find that you get a little bit of tail wag, especially with a following sea. With this rudder, as you're paddling and as you get a little bit of following seas, your kayak nose pretty much stays dead on where you're pointing it. So this tracks a lot better. It's like a dart through the water. But we have been experimenting with big rudders, like, talking 14, 15 inches with pieces of alloy plate. Minnie Smith has been doing that up in Cairns, up above Cairns, near Taylor's Beach. He's been practicing with a really big rudder. Jordo in Victoria, he's on YouTube as well. He uses these 8-9 inch rudders. That's pretty much the upgrade. I've made this one a little bit bigger. I didn't like the size it was. I just want a little bit more grab in the water. Now, on the big days, you want a little bit more like a dagger board arrangement. When you're way out wide, you're not, straight line speed, it's not everything. A dagger board arrangement with the rudder, just being a little bit more grip in the water, does stop the kayak from doing the old left to righty. All right, and so it basically makes the kayak go maybe a smidgen quicker, a little bit more efficient, but also stops that tail wag, and that's what you really want in the big open water, sort of big water days. This one, great for Port Augusta, great for off the back of the beaches in Queensland, etc., etc., etc. This one's really good for surf environments and or big water days. So I've kind of come up with a substitute. So you've got this one. This is 8-9 inches. This is 5 inches, this one. and I'm going for a 12-inch model. This one I've modelled off a front of a Wales flipper. Not his tail, but its front flippers. So this is the leading edge of a whale flipper. So this one's full 12 inches long. As you can see, it's going to be a bit of a monster. It's going to have a lot more catch in the water. Like, quite literally, it's going to have a shit tin more catch. Lots more catch. Oodles. Probably 40% more catch in the water. The reason I've got these lumps on the front is like tubicles on the front of a whale fin, front pectoral fins. The reason whales aren't stupid. It's a brilliant evolution situation where these tubicles, when the whale turns, or when the rudder turns, so to speak, it actually stops any stall in the speed, so you don't create a vacuum behind the rudder itself. It stops stalling. So if you're cruising along in your Pro Fisher, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. You'll hit left rudder and right rudder with this, right? And you don't get too much stalls. She'll turn. She's not too bad. But when you upgrade your rudders, the more you turn, the more you have a chance of you turn too sharply, and all of a sudden the kayak will lose speed. Well, that's called stalling. The consensus is, with ocean racing yachts and all that sort of wank, if you go on YouTube, you'll actually see a lot of rudders are now getting those tubicles on the front. So that's the front leading edge there. That's the back edge. So I've basically just shaped it like this. I just did it freehand today. This is with balsa wood joined together. As you can see, that's the trailing edge. That's the leading edge. This is yet to have a endless rod put in, as well as to be epoxied up. I'm going to epoxy this up with some carbon Kevlar wrap, or some just straight aramid Kevlar, not sure yet. So I'm going to wrap that after I put the endless rod in tomorrow, or the day after, and that'll be my big water rudder. Hey, if it doesn't work, I'll just make a smaller one, just a little bit bigger than this one. But I've got predictions this will work really well in big water conditions. So there are your two rudder choices. That's your 8-9 inch upgrade. You can make these yourself. You don't. It's quite fucking heavy. Excuse the language. Really apologise for that. That is a beast. That's really heavy. The original one that came over from South Africa, it's 10mm rod. 10mm rod with 12mm thickness, right the thickness. Tapers off. This is 10mm rod, same again. 12mm thickness again. And it's tapered off, as you can see. And this one is going to have 10mm rod, and that's 12mm thickness. So that'll be tapered off. This is just in the infancy stages of getting shaped up. So apologies again for the language, for those people a little bit more sensitive. I do know kids probably watching this as well, so big apologies for that. So there you go. There's your two normal rudder choices, and that's my rudder. I'm thinking of making a couple of these, if not maybe half a dozen of these, for people to, if someone wants one, for people to epoxy it themselves and put in their own endless thread. The endless thread you can pick up from Bunnings, 1 metre lengths, 1.2 metre lengths of stainless steel endless thread, like that. You can pick that up from Bunnings for like $17 or whatever it is. So quite happy to make a couple of these up. You could probably improve upon it. I don't know. So I had to bond two together with a jig, but it's come up all right. Once that's epoxied up and glassed up with the carbon mat or Kevlar mat or glass mat, that'll become quite strong, especially when the endless thread goes in. And you just put it on an angle and then bring it up. Indestructibles does a fantastic how to make your own rudder. So you're using balsa wood when you shape these things. And the balsa wood's not your strength. Balsa wood's your shape. It's when you epoxy it and glass it or carbon it or Kevlar it, that's where your strength comes from. So don't worry, this is made out of balsa wood. Ultra light, very, very light. In fact, this one will be lighter than these two. So very, very light. Obviously, Stealth can't make custom-made rudders. Why reinvent the wheel when you're selling to a mass market? But, making one yourself, with those tubicles,
they aid in not the rudder edge not stalling, like creating a vacuum behind it. So I'm hoping that'll actually work. So write in the comments below if you think this is a pretty out there sort of idea. Good or bad, doesn't really worry me. Hope you have a good evening, and that's the project I'm doing at the moment, rudder project.